Two major unions are supporting Microsoft's acquisition of Activision Blizzard. We've actually seen some of the positive effects of the unionization efforts at Activision and also at Bethesda Softworks under Microsoft. I wanted to talk to you a little bit about the recent backing of the merger between Microsoft and Activision Blizzard from AFL-CIO and revisit what the CWA has said about this merger and how the FTC has been handling it. Let's dive in right now. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. If you could hit that subscribe button, hit that bell. Subscribe button's broken again. You guys aren't going to know what to do unless I fix it. Boom, hit that subscribe button, hit that bell to know when my content goes live. Thank you so much for watching thus far. So we're going to dive into these comments from the AFL-CIO. And basically what they say is the workers deserve a seat at the table, calls for Microsoft's Activision Blizzard deal to move forward. Now, this is posted shortly after the FTC said that they're suing to block the deal, and they don't seem very happy about it. I'm just going to read this whole statement. This is from December 9th. This is from the AFL-CIO president Liz Schuler on the FTC decision to sue to block Microsoft Activision Blizzard deal. It's disappointing that the Federal Trade Commission is suing to block the Microsoft Activision Blizzard deal that would create a stronger company and protect consumers by empowering workers. With any merger, there are many factors to assess, but the needs of workers should always be taken into account. When workers are able to stand together, it creates a culture of checks and balances within a company that ultimately benefits consumers and the general public. Consumers in that products are going to be better. There's going to be better working conditions for the employees. And just a note on this, the employees want this merger to go through. The employees of Activision have been celebrating and are very excited about this going through. The testers over at Raven Software have been allowed to unionize because of this deal is even on the table. So a lot has been happening that has been positive already, and the deal hasn't even gone through yet. The proposed acquisition by Microsoft would give Activision Blizzard workers the freedom to join a union through employer neutrality, empowering them to build a stronger company and serve as a check to unethical corporate practices, a win for both workers and consumers. Each corporate merger must be assessed on its merits and consider the impact on workers. Despite the action taken by the FTC, we're confident a federal judge will side with the Communication Workers of America, the European Commission, and countless others who support this deal so that video game workers are finally given the chance to improve their lives and create a stronger company by having a union on the job. So, long story short, one of the biggest unions in the United States supports this. Oh, let me correct that. Two of the biggest unions in the United States support this. Already, they've allowed Activision workers to unionize. They've allowed the Raven Software workers to unionize. Bethesda Softworks, 300 employees, the QA testers, I believe, are unionizing. We'll get to that in just a second. And the FTC still thinks it's a bad idea because Sony has said something negative in their ear. I'm very curious if they're starting to realize, maybe we screwed up. And I'm going to be very curious to see, I can't wait to see how this proceeds, because for me, Lena Khan, she just sees Microsoft as a target. That has to be it, right? Everybody is saying that was the wrong move, to not meet with Microsoft and block it. Anyway, continuing on. This is from the CWA. This is from back 12/5/2022. For once, the FTC is considering a merger that helps the workers. And this was on 12/5/2022. The coming decision about whether to allow Microsoft's merger with Activision Blizzard to move forward is a bellwether for American antitrust policy. By approving this merger, the Federal Trade Commission, FTC, has the opportunity to make a strong statement in favor of economic democracy and provide a blueprint for an enforceable remedy to protect workers from large employers abusing market power to undercut wages and working conditions. So that's very pro-Microsoft. They want the deal to go through. This is from the CWA, by the way, because They wanted the deal to go through. They saw positive interactions with Microsoft, and they were all for it. So I'm going to go to a few of the other statements from before the FTC decided to block it. It was in this context that we were able to negotiate an unprecedented labor neutrality agreement, which, if the merger is approved, would allow workers at Activision to freely and fairly make a choice about union representation. Now, the main concerns about this were degradation in work conditions for employees, degradation of the product, right? And the possibility of like them just owning the entire market. Brad Smith, in the video we talked about yesterday, I'll link to it right here. He talked about how Sony has 70% of the market right now. Microsoft has 30. There's no way that this deal going through like destroys Sony or anything. So competition is still healthy. And it's very confused. I'm so bewildered and confused about the idea. There's going to be some interesting ads in the next video, by the way. Next section that we go to. Anyway, I'm a little confused by the FTC deciding to block this. Sony, which has the largest share of video game console market, has been one of the few vocal opponents of the merger. Interesting that Sony would be a vocal opponent, right? It is a stark contrast of interests. If the merger is approved and the labor deal with Microsoft is effectuated, Activision Blizzard workers across the United States fighting sexual harassment and other poor working conditions stand to finally have a voice on the job and a chance to shape working conditions throughout the industry, and gamers will have allies inside a corporation with real protections for speaking out in consumers' interests. If the merger is disapproved, the power relations within the gaming industry for labor stay the same. Sony protects its very profitable position as the industry leader, and consumers will have to wait and see if subscription services mature into a viable gaming option. That's a very pro-Microsoft merger statement. They're saying if the workers can unionize, it's a clear message to the rest of the industry that you can unionize too and have better working conditions for your employees. Now, as a reminder, this was all before the merger. And this is all very pro FTC, pro like happy with Lena Khan and what she's done and the positive impact. And they close, Chris Shelton closes, he's the president of the CWA, president of Communication Workers of America. He says, it's time to seal the deal, not blow it up. Fast forward a few days, and here's their statement directly after the FTC decides to block the Microsoft Activision deal. By moving to file a lawsuit in administrative court to block Microsoft's acquisition of Activision Blizzard, the Federal Trade Commission has missed an opportunity to demonstrate that it takes the labor impact of mergers seriously. Instead, the FTC has once again focused its analysis solely on consumer harms and, in this case, console market leader Sony's concerns about increased competition. Insert that GIF. Oh, you know the one I'm talking about. They're calling the FTC out. It's like, so let me get this straight. You're choosing to listen to Sony, the market leader's concerns, as opposed to two mega union divisions or whatever, saying, hey, this is really good. This is going to be positive for workers. Activision Blizzard is using its already significant power to resist workers' organizing efforts and clearly does not wish to respect its workers' rights to freely and fairly organize a union. That's why CWA sought a remedy that would rein in these tech giants' labor market power, a labor neutrality agreement that enables workers to counteract the increased monopsony inherent in this merger through collective bargaining. Look, I'm just a regular dude. Some of these words are kind of big. I would have to Google monopsony, but I know Hogue talked about that word, so I'll have to get a dictionary one of these days. After CWA brought our concerns to light, Microsoft agreed to enter into negotiations to show regulators their good faith efforts to address monopsony harms, resulting in a legally binding agreement with the CWA. This deal has already had amazing positive benefits for workers, is what the CWA is saying. Approving this merger with the labor agreement that we fashioned with Microsoft to protect collective bargaining rights would have sent a game-changing message to corporate America that workers do indeed have a seat at the table and their concerns matter and must be addressed. We believe the FTC's case is not likely to convince a federal judge, particularly as the European Commission may move to approve the deal, and that workers at Activision Blizzard will finally have the opportunity to improve their wages, benefits, and working conditions through their union. Not a positive look for the FTC, and I've talked about it a lot. What are you doing? The fact that they didn't even hear from Microsoft, and somebody commented this the other day, I forget who, but they're like, Destin, do you think that's going to look bad in court that they didn't even talk to Microsoft? Oh yeah. Yeah, I think that's going to look very bad for the FTC. You didn't even listen to Microsoft. You seem to have sort of incorrectly quoted what the CWA said, and the CWA, or sorry, the union is the CWA. The CMA over in Europe, in the UK somewhere, it's very confusing. The CMA is something in Europe or UK. It's got to be UK. The CWA is the union. So I apologize for that confusion. But anyway, they basically said that's not what we said to the FTC. So that's like two of their main points down. Workers want this to go through. Activision wants this to go through. Microsoft wants this to go through. Two major unions want this to go through. You know who doesn't want this to go through? The market leader who would be forced to compete. Isn't that your whole thing? Imagine if Sony had to compete with a company that allows unionization at their company. Maybe Sony would have to allow their workers to unionize also, instead of just sort of figure out their own concerns within the workforce, right? They've had to address crunch issues very recently at their companies. If this falls apart, that message is sort of lost in it all. 300 QA devs unionized at Microsoft-owned ZeniMax Studios. This was making headlines not that long ago. And if you follow the Twitter thread, the ZeniMax workers, CWA, today a majority of QA workers at ZeniMax, are proud to announce the launch of our union with CWA Union. We are the first group of workers at Microsoft to formally unionize. We are empowered to advocate for ourselves and build a future where we can thrive alongside the company. That seems pretty positive to me. Everybody talks about this deal. They're like, oh, industry consolidation, it's so bad. Here's the thing, everybody. And here's my take on it. This is inevitable. Everybody thinks this is positive, right? And you're listening to Sony, the person who benefits the most from this deal falling apart. That's messed up. That's completely messed up. And obviously, no, they don't want Microsoft to continue to have an even amount of exclusives or an even amount of development studios, because then they're going to be forced to come up with new ways to compete against Xbox. Anyway, it sucks. If this falls apart, I think it's going to send a bad message to the industry, and I think it's going to be bad for gaming going forward. Anyway, that's all I have for you today. CWA wants us to go through. The AFL wants us to go through. Everybody seems to either not care or not be worried. They're signing 10-year deals over at Nintendo. They're happy for it to go through. Why is the FTC listening to Sony? It's baffling. It's baffling. I don't understand it. If their points were solid, but they're so flimsy and malleable, like they don't even make concrete points as they block this. We've read that document. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, everybody. Hit that subscribe button, hit that bell to know when this content goes live. Thank you so much for watching. I greatly appreciate it. If you would like to become a member, you can do so by clicking that join button right down there. I think I got to update this list. I think we got some new members. Thank you to the new members, and thank you to all of these people who find people. If you want to become a member, it's right down there. I post all these videos with no ads, so that is one benefit of membership. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. I'm going to get out of here. Be sure to check out this video where the CMA called out the FTC, and hit that subscribe button. We've grown a lot in the last few weeks, so thank you so much for all the support. I'm going to get out of here, and I'll see you for the next one.